Room with Alex Willis, who's Head of Communications, Content and Digital, coming towards the end of this tournament. How has it been from the digital side of things?
It's just been fantastic. I mean, what more could we wish for than so many wonderful stories that help us reach so many different parts of the world. If you think about Coco Gauff in week one, Andy Murray and Marina over the middle weekend, then of course Serena and Simona Halep progressing to the final, and now we've got the 40th reunion of Federer and Nadal at Wimbledon. So that makes our lives easier because there's so much interest in what's going on the court, and we've got lots of opportunities to really celebrate that.
I suppose we've had some brilliant stories in the last couple of weeks, but in a year when maybe it's a little bit quieter and you don't have some of those great stories, how does the digital content change in any way?
Well, our job fundamentally is to try and demonstrate what is going on at Wimbledon to our fans around the world. And the brilliant thing about tennis is that it's very diverse as a sport. You've got very diverse fan bases. And so even if we may think it's not the most interesting Wimbledon, there'll be tennis fans somewhere who are so delighted that their player is progressing well at Wimbledon. The other amazing thing about this place is that there are many things beyond the tennis that people are interested in, whether that's the people attending the Royal Box, Mr. Beckham always does well for us, the food, the strawberries, the fashion, the experience of being here, the hill, the queue. So we try and make sure that we're really programming our content, yes, to focus and hero the tennis, but also to celebrate all the different aspects of Wimbledon at the same time.
Presumably you get instant reaction and you also get global reaction.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the other thing that's an interesting challenge is the time zone. It's easy for us to be rooted in our own time zone and be awake when we're awake and asleep when we're asleep. But there are loads of fans around the world who love this event, who will wake up as we are all going to bed and want to know, well, what happened at Wimbledon? So thinking about their experience, yes, thinking about people consuming live, but thinking about those people who wake up and want to catch up, that's also been a really big focus for us.
It's always known as being a traditional place, Wimbledon, but you have actually been very innovative, and the Wimbledon Channel and digital and all of these things have come up possibly earlier than a lot of other sports events thought about that. How has that helped you be ahead of the game because you started so early?
Well, we recognised that we are a traditional brand, and in many ways our traditions are our greatest strength because they give us identity, they give us character, again, grass court tennis, white clothing, but also that what's expected of us now today as a brand is not just to be a tennis tournament, but to think of ourselves more as a media business, because ultimately that's what we're doing. We're trying to service fans with content. And to be a media business, you have to be forward-thinking and forward-looking and progressive. So where we used to talk about how we balance tradition and innovation, but then they're always in conflict with each other, we now say that we need to innovate to preserve our traditions, to keep Wimbledon relevant and make sure that the audiences of the future feel the same way about it as we all do today.
What are you looking at doing to progress and move forward now then for the next couple of years?
Well, I think the first thing is be everywhere, be where the audience is, be on the channels that you know that drive engagement. And again, those can vary depending on age group, they can vary depending on territory. Another one is develop ways to be more immersive. We talk about Wimbledon being a place that if you know it, you love it. But for lots of people who will never get the opportunity to come here, how do we create that feeling? And the brilliant thing is that with augmented reality and virtual reality and all sorts of other techniques, we've got lots to play with. And then there's also personalisation. So the expectations of our fans or our customers are to have a truly personalised experience. And so we need to judge ourselves on that. People don't really remember what they did at Wimbledon last year because most of the time they've forgotten about it, whereas they are judging us on what they did yesterday or last week. So all those three things are challenges, but great opportunities.
Presumably working with newer brands like TikTok, that's all part of moving things forward from Wimbledon's point of view.
Yes, it's interesting because the more platforms that you create and the more that you work on, the more difficult it is to keep up with them. And so we have to be decisive and have rationale for why we're on certain platforms. But we also, as I said, understand you have to be where the audience is. But platforms like TikTok also help us show a different side to Wimbledon, which is a bit more fun, a bit more quirky, a bit more funny, and tap into the types of things that we know that demographic are interested in. But we also have to not neglect all of the other ones, whether that's our broadcast partners, our traditional digital platforms, the website and the app. They all need to have their place and have their role.
it's not necessarily part of your remit, but in terms of just moving forward with the times, going to the digital ticket system, that's something that is another way that there are still the traditions here, there will still be the queue, but that is another way that Wimbledon can move forward as well, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And the interesting thing is that we've developed this content offering using digital platforms, and that's now starting to converge into what the on-site experience is like. And so even though you may not class it as sort of digital, actually the guest experience and again customer expectations, we have to acknowledge that, because if we're delivering an amazing content experience by the app, but that it's not helping someone actually physically get here, then we're not maximising it to its full potential. So we're actually starting to think about what we were grandly calling a master plan for the future of the guest experience, which is saying, well, when will people expect to only use their phone for everything that they do on site, whether that's enter the gates, find what they're looking for, pay for their PIMs, and how can we start to plan for that so that we can be ahead of the game? Not necessarily first adopter, but certainly best adopter as that technology matures.
So presumably in the same way that sustainability is a key focus, things like being able to charge your phone around the grounds, which I have already noticed this year, is something that will be needed.
Absolutely, because that we try and aspire to thinking of the things that people don't realise we've thought of. And that's a really good example of that. We've put Wi-Fi on the hill for the first time, and rather than it just be there for the sake of being there, we've tried to deliver some benefit by it being there. So fans are able to vote for the match that they most want to see on the big screen. So all of those things that are going to be, it's a cliche to say surprise and delight, but genuinely meaningful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.